recommendations.
Oh, good, Joe.
I love it.
You recording? Perfect. We'll call the meeting to order. Patrick Sorrell let us know he wasn't going to be here. Otherwise, everyone is here. Could someone make a motion to approve the agenda with an adjustment to move 4 and 5 up since Alder Grant has to leave early?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda, except taking 4 and 5 right after the approval of the minutes.
Second.
Can I get an approval of the minutes as put down in your packet?
Make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Excellent. So regular business, we'll just skip over. So we'll go to number 4, consideration with possible action on the request by Alder Grant to address the traffic concerns at the intersection of Sussex Road and Scottwood Drive due to high traffic and safety concerns around Red Smith School during drop-off and pickup times, and consideration with possible action to conduct a traffic study along Sussex Road near Baywatch Drive and Fayetteville Way to determine if full-time city paid crossing guards are needed before future development. So going to send it over to you, Alder Grant.
Okay, thank you. So the first one, both of these are kind of in relation to each other, but there's a future development coming forward, and a big area that has been brought up with existing problems is the corner of Sussex and Scottwood in the mornings. And in communication with the school about traffic and whatnot, I was informed that Red Smith does not have any paid crossing guards, and then that is a decision of the school. He did not have any dates as to when we did a study last, so I guess I would like to see updated numbers. Last year, Wickwiock School had closed and merged with Red Smith, and I've been told there's about 130 students that have added to Red Smith since last year. And if this development moves forward and ultimately in some form of capacity, it most likely will, there will be even more traffic coming from the other, I guess technically across the road from Red Smith, where they will have to cross Sussex. And I think, and I'll obviously take Steve's advice because I know he's been doing this for a while, but I didn't know if it would help to almost have a study done now with the school as far as how many kids are crossing, so we can see if there is a large influx when the development is done. The development is projected to take about 10 years, which is why I'm kind of pushing to do this now to see if they qualify now, and if they don't, then we can see what the difference of the development did. So that is the crossing guard one, and I apologize, I'm going back and forth, but the Scottwood and Sussex, a lot of traffic flows into the neighborhood for the school drop-off and pickup coming from Scottwood, so they're turning either right or left onto Sussex. So anybody trying to leave the neighborhood on Sussex, whether they're going straight or left or even right, there is a backup. So I know a lot of residents are concerned of how that intersection works currently, and again, it will only get worse with future developments.
Steve, do you have any response?
Actually, I'm going to defer to Tom.
Defer to Tom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be here more in an advisory capacity at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, we'll do the 3 studies. The crossing guard study is just an arrival and pickup. We're usually 30 minutes before school starts up until it's start time. I'll count the cars and the pedestrians, and then we have a warrant that we just say this many pedestrians equals this many points. And it usually involves quite a few pedestrians or a lot of cars. Like a Webster Avenue cars would be on the heavier side than the pedestrians, but I'll do a AM and a PM counts at those locations prior to the end of the school year, or maybe before the next traffic meeting, and then I'll do for a multi-way stop at Scottwood, I would do again 12-hour approach count, or 24 tube counts, approaching volumes, and then again there's a state warrant analysis that you look at crashes and you look at volumes of cars and delays on the side street, you know. There's a lot of schools that get delayed on the side street for 15, 30 minutes, you know, and then it relieves itself, so you don't want to stop cars 24/7 for something that happens, you know, a couple times, you know, in the morning, so. But I'll get all that information for the next meeting.
I see a hand. Yes, Alder Grant?
Am I okay to speak? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And one other thing to keep in mind is the development that is coming forward is projected to add 400 units. So I would like to see a traffic study done now, but I do think it's possible that, again, in 5 years, depending on how fast the development goes up, there could be a need for another one if something doesn't qualify now.
Mhm.
Oh, I see we also have some guests. Did anyone in the room want to talk or ask anything? I do need to have you state your name and your
Wait,
address.
motion
Okay.
to open the floor.
I'll make a motion to open the floor.
Yes.
Second.
So my name's Monica Bernardi. We live at 2625 Shore Ridge Court. So the back of our house, our backyard, butts up against Scottwood. And my understanding that Scottwood is a county road. I'm just wondering what is the future design for that road? I would assume as progress happens, roads widen. And so, does anyone know what that road looks like in the future?
At this
That's
point,
my
there are no proposed changes for Scotland. Typically, county trunks are constructed to the cross-section that Scotland is currently constructed to. That is the most common county trunk highway. Is a 2-lane undivided with no curb and gutter and shoulders.
So how much traffic can that road handle? Just because there's a lot of speeding on that road. There's a lot of, in the summertime, you know, the motorcycles are heading out to Algoma and the fancy cars are heading that way. So I was just wondering, because there's a lot of changes and a lot of growth. So we're just trying to figure out what the back of that, our backyard is going to look like.
And again, we wouldn't have that information, that would be the county highway department.
Okay.
You would have to talk to them.
Okay.
Being an engineer, I would not expect significant changes out there. Some of the reasons you're currently seeing the conditions you're seeing is it's long, it's straight, and it's rural. So that's where people feel comfortable going past. I'm not saying that's right, I'm telling you that geometry is working against you at this point. If you were to turn that into a 4-lane facility, you would cause an increase in speed. So leaving it as a 2-lane facility is probably the best thing for you as that development occurs. There's multiple points that you need to balance, okay? And one of the things that Alder Grant was talking about in the delays or the amount of traffic on that road that makes it feel unsafe to go fast actually is what helps limit the speed. So if you keep it tight, you don't improve the geometry, it inherently forces people to go slow because there's too many cars out there, it's too cramped. You naturally feel uncomfortable going faster than what the speed limits are. There's a little bit of design that goes into that.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what this study shows, because in that is that turn, you know, to go to the school, which is going to be interesting. So we'll just wait. So we're just here to,
The thing is you say there's no plans right now to do anything with the road.
Right.
there was no plans to do anything with that development either a while back, and all of a sudden it's sold and now development's coming. So down the road, even though today, March 2025, nothing's planned for that road, March 2030, someone comes in and says, you know what, with that development, we're gonna have a lot of cars, we may need to widen this road.
You're
That-
correct, that could happen.
It could.
Could you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry,
for us? Oh, that's
Joe
okay.
Bernardi, 2625 Shore Ridge Court.
Okay.
So when you say it's not planned now and, you know, things are kind of hunky-dory and the design of the road keeps people going slow, and we get all these cars coming up there that, because there's other land out there that could be developed, and that's a main artery.
Right, okay, but I think you're mixing a couple of things that I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as the traffic increases, the amount of traffic increases, if you do not expand the road, leave it the way it is today, that's what creates the feeling of discomfort, and that's what causes the speed to be reduced. More traffic, you build a bigger road, it goes faster. All you did was you made it more comfortable for them to drive
Because it's
fast.
4 lanes instead of 2,
Correct.
or 3
okay?
instead of 2.
So and again, nobody's got plans right now, and we would not drive that decision. That's a county trunk highway that comes from Brown County Highway Department and in their estimation alone. So we can help provide them data. I think what the Alder is asking for is to get a baseline study right now. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to tell you that the highest probability is it's going to show nothing is needed right now. That's just Tom and I, with the years of experience we have, you know. If you went to school for rocket science isn't that hard. Make sense? Okay, rocket science isn't real difficult once you've been trained. Okay? So, what I'm getting at is when you work in this industry as long as we have, a lot of times you can just take a look at things and the answer's pretty evident, but we'll do the study to verify it, okay? Sometimes we're wrong, that happens. But the highest probability is the study is gonna show everything is fine right now, but as the Alder said, it gives us a baseline moving forward. And as that development continues to grow, then we can compare a future study against numbers we had now and show the difference. That's exactly how progress is made. So I think it's a great idea. Again, I think as that development continues to occur out there, if you don't change the road, that will cause a feeling of congestion. It will help mitigate some of those speed concerns. If you try to mitigate some of the delays and you increase the capacity of the road, you may wind up increasing speeds.
Oh, no, I agree. You know, and if that is the way it goes from experience, great. I mean, that's great for us because we don't have 100 feet to
No, I understand.
Scotwood. You know, we got 20 feet.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're giving the whole picture. You know, it would be disingenuous if we came in here and gave you all the roses and didn't tell you about the thorns.
I want the words. I want to know. You know,
So no, we just want to make sure we're being very transparent with you what to expect as this moves forward.
Because we aren't against the development up there, you know, for the housing and things, because people have to have a place to live, but they want to put a complex, a big apartment complex and things like that, which would add to it. And then some commercial development, which will add to it as well. And those traffic flows coming out where those houses are gonna go directly west, right into Sussex. And if you talk to the school principal, I mean, those houses, I drive by there every day, and it's a frickin' mess. If you guys haven't been there, and you said you're gonna do a study.
I've been out there several times, so.
It's crazy. I don't know if any kids ever been hurt or anything, but, you know, the more cars, probability increases too, so. It's hard to say, but that's good if they aren't gonna widen that road right now, so.
So I see we've got 2 hands up. Ken, Corey, could you let us know what your address is and what you would like to say? Ken, Corey?
Hi, this is actually, my name is Leah Weekly. I live on 3377 Wiggins Way. I just had some comments, I guess, as to, I'm not sure exactly what is looked at with the study. I'm sure it goes in depth, but as someone who's lived on multiple roads in the neighborhood, just understanding, I know it's not all about car count necessarily, the fact that there's a lot of roads that don't have sidewalks on them, which is another issue with the flow of traffic. So I think in addition to the amount of cars that are going to be on there, it's, a lot of it does revolve around the flow and the fact that, you know, I've walked my kids to school from various roads in here, and that I've had to push them off to the side of the road when the sun is in the eyes from drivers. And I know that's not necessarily your issue, but just something that I want to make sure is addressed in this traffic study if possible.
That wouldn't necessarily be addressed in this study. What we're looking at is roadway capacities. What you're asking about is another study, and that would be a sidewalk study, which a request for a sidewalk study could be forwarded through your alder at any time. I will tell you, sidewalk studies are very contentious because the capital cost to install and the long-term maintenance costs of those sidewalks are borne by the adjacent property owner.
Okay, thank you. I will look into that a little more. I appreciate it.
Then Alder Grant, would you like to speak again?
Yes, thank you. One other thing, I guess, I understand a study gets done, but we also know the impact of making a change to an intersection. Would we keep in mind that implementing some sort of traffic calming now before the development would be beneficial so that new people moving to the area would not know the change or disruption? It would be all they know. Therefore, the chance of less, I know making a change to an intersection can actually cause accidents at first until people are used to it. So while I understand the study itself, but I'm hoping that staff will keep that in mind because I feel like this is actually a good time to implement it, so less people have to adjust to it.
Well, and again, we're gonna run the study. Nothing has been determined. When we get the results of the study back, if an improvement doesn't meet the warrants, our recommendation will be not to go forward with that improvement, because by putting in an unwarranted improvement, you're actually causing a problem. Now, that's not to say it can't be done. Okay, that happens. If somebody decides to not heed our advice, that's been done multiple times in the past. We're gonna give you our professional recommendation and the why. Secondly, at this particular intersection, Scottwood is a free flow and Sussex is under stop condition. Any recommendation to change that, causing any restriction on Scottwood, is going to need Brown County approval, not under our jurisdiction. That's a county highway. I can't make unilateral changes on their road.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
No, we just
Ken never
need to
came
lower
down.
that hand.
Yeah.
Steve, can I make an ask of staff for part of the study? Can you guys double check as well to make sure within the bike and ped or the Safe Route to School plans, just if there are any recommendations in the area and or on those particular streets and or intersections, please let us know as part of the study.
We do that as a matter of course on all road projects right now.
Thanks.
Then I know we have one other gentleman who came.
I'm good right now.
Can I get a motion to close the floor?
Motion to close the floor. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 and 5, do we just need to make a motion for the city to do the?
Yeah, just make a motion to have
I'll make a
staff
motion to
conduct a traffic study.
conduct a traffic study.
You want to do both 4 and 5?
Yeah, 4 and 5.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great, thank you guys so much. And so we can jump back to regular business. business, consideration with possible action on the February and March 2025 reports by the police department.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More that are being involved.
All right, so we got February and March in here, because we had a meeting, we skipped a month. I'll just jump ahead to the March one. So March, we're starting to do more of our traffic grants. The weather's warming up, there's more, we can use our money better by doing more click it a ticket and speed ones. We haven't started any pedestrian ones, possibly in April I'll start doing some of those. But our grant money got cut in half for the majority of our grants, so we're definitely gonna have less deployments than we have in the past. And we're trying to move around some pieces to try to get more enforcement out there where needed.
What was the cause for the cut in grants?
Federal cuts. So a lot of them were probably in excess of $100,000 that we lost on grants. And it's all grant money that goes towards equipment, but mainly for salary and overtime for the officers working it. Of note, our grants, today being St. Patrick's Day, we have OWI enforcement starting at 7, going until 3 a.m. We got a lot, I think we got a dozen officers just dedicated to OWI starting at 7 tonight and up to 16 at one point during the night. Enforcement areas, Monroe and Emily's are hotspot right now. We've been getting a lot of complaints from aldermen there. Traditionally, we do have a lot of enforcement there, but we're doing even more than we normally do. Just continuing what we're doing. We're looking at, so on the last page here, you have the crash data that we typically use to help figure out where the best places to be doing enforcement is. Our speed data, we're starting to go, like we've talked in the past about using GPS data. I think next finance committee, we're gonna bring that up for purchase of a subscription for using new subscription that uses GPS data versus just the traditional speed board signs putting out, so that way we can get data throughout the whole city, be able to find problem areas, also address complaints in a more efficient manner, and be able to determine if it's worth putting our resources into. So next finance committee, that'll be coming up. One also thing we're going to be doing this month, on the 25th, State Patrol is going to send some inspectors to assist us with doing some commercial motor vehicle enforcement in the city. In the past, we talked about Jake or compression braking complaints on Broadway. Also, trucks off the route. So we'll be focused on some of those areas, and having our officers making stops for city ordinance violations, and then working with the state patrol inspectors as well to do inspections on vehicles if needed within the city. So it's a new initiative we're starting. This is the first time we're going to do that. See how it works, and maybe we'll be doing that more often. So we're planning on putting out some social media stuff later this week. Let them know what we're going to be doing. You guys got any questions? One thing I should mention as far as the complaints we had, I just finished up this last week training I think about 16 of our officers on use of radar and LiDAR speed detection devices. So we were using our patrol officers more. Still down one traffic officer on my unit, and unforeseen one, we're going to be able to fill that. So looking at other ways to get people out there, so relying on our patrol a little bit more. So we got a lot more of them trained and put some more devices in the vehicles to allow them to take speed enforcement while they're on the regular patrols.
Awesome.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Excellent. I see we have Alder Johnson here. Okay, we'll move on to number 2,
Hey, you
consideration.
gotta take a second.
Second.
Oh, yeah, a second.
Sit down and train.
Just the next step.
Okay, I got the first.
Now, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can see I'm in a rush here.
You'll need this.
General business, consideration with possible action on the request by Alder Johnson to remove the no parking from here to corner sign near 301 to 305 South Maple Avenue, and to update the no parking zone to default to the standard setback. Is there anything you'd like to add, Alder Johnson, since you were here?
No, this was something a resident reached out. There's no parking here to corner. There used to be some equipment that was there. That equipment's no longer there, so they were just asking if that sign can be removed. I talked to Tom about it.
Yep. We'll remove it after we get the approval.
So it doesn't sound like a controversial thing, but
Perfect.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All any opposed? Excellent. Another one for Fran here. Consideration with possible action on the request by Alder Johnson for the creation of a 15-minute loading zone or PUDO lane as recommended by the 2023 Desmond Parking Study in the 100 block of Pine Street between North Washington and the entrance to City Deck. Any
I
comments
want to
on
be clear, when I referenced the parking study, it wasn't necessarily, the parking study didn't specifically say that a pickup drop-off zone should go in this exact location, just that some should be implemented.
Okay.
But I would defer to staff, I guess, on their professional recommendation. If they have one, yeah.
We would recommend this be referred to staff for study to see where the appropriate locations are. With apologies, this is quite possibly the worst block in the downtown to try to put anything. When we reconstructed the 100 block of Pine for City Deck, it was reconstructed to a 24-foot clear width in an effort to minimize vehicular traffic. We do not want people in there driving. That was intentionally reconstructed as a pedestrian-friendly environment. As a matter of fact, if you take a look, the concrete pavement of the street is textured concrete. It was meant to represent the brick that's actually on City Deck. It's color matched to the brick on City Deck. It was meant to give every clue that it is a pedestrian walkway, not a motor vehicle. It's one way. The alley on the 200 block of North Washington is one way southbound, so you have to travel down west on that 100 block to enter the alley to come out on Cherry, and then it also serves as the only means of ingress egress for the river ramp. Had it not been for those two items, this would have been closed to vehicular traffic and turned into a pedestrian way. So the only way to make it available for any kind of a pickup drop-off lane would be to rip it out and reconstruct it, because right now, in order to park, if you're either parked in the travel lane or you're parked out illegally on the sidewalk. However, coming out of COVID, staff did take a look at the greater downtown. So Ashland to Monroe, Maine, just north of, or Mason to just north of Maine and Dousman, to grab, to kind of take a look at the greater downtown area. And staff did have some recommendations back in '21 on potential pickup drop-off or PUDO lanes. So what we want to do is dust that study off and take a look at where additional PUDO lanes could potentially go into the downtown, both east and west sides. So we would ask this to be referred to staff so we have a chance to do that.
Steve, do we have an idea of how often the one right at the corner of the old Children's Museum right there, that's pickup drop-off area or loading zone?
It is.
Yep. So how often is that one used? Is that often? Pretty often?
Frequently.
Frequently?
Yes. We have 3 of them in the downtown. We've got on the 3 of them in the Washington Street corridor. Let me say. We have the one in front of the former Children's Museum on the corner of Pine. There's actually a 2-stall loading zone at the far west end of City Deck Court by City Deck Landing, and there's another in front of Nicolay National Bank. So within that 4-block area, there's 3 zones actually.
Yeah. So what type of vehicles are we trying to accommodate?
And I can be more specific if you'd like, if it helps. I mean, this was outreach that I had by Downtown Green Bay on behalf of a business. So on that particular street, one is you get a lot of folks that park there already to do pickup drop-off. They're obviously doing so illegally, but it happens. When you're on that section of Pine Street, there is no parking allowed at all. And, I I understand it's designed for the pedestrian access, but a lot of stuff is designed that way when you think about Wooners and things where they can have that dual purpose. So I don't necessarily think we'd have to rip it out and redo it. But the problem is when you go down there and you've got a couple of primary tenants. One is the creamery and the bike shop, right? And so creating some level of access there is kind of what's driving this. The creamery in particular, the problem is when they have to take deliveries or drop things off, they do a catering job and they have equipment to move. That's where they've gone, and they've been told to go in the alley, but the alley has a sign that says no parking as well, and they're getting tickets. And it's very problematic because, you know, they'd have to go a little further away to move that kind of equipment. And so when I went on site and looked at it, said, gosh, here you've got this underutilized or unused space. Could this be an ideal place to put it? And I understand staff may have a different opinion, but I do think obviously we should, there's a lot of room here to have the broad conversation around pickup drop-off zones. They're becoming more popular, more in demand when you think about whether it's you know, Lyft or Uber and having that type of station, or you're talking about Uber Eats or Grubhub, any of those types of services. And they were recommended for installation in our parking study.
So are they like standard sized delivery trucks, larger delivery trucks?
I think you probably get a combination down there. Now in this case where they got the ticket, I do think it was just a normal vehicle that was unloading.
Okay.
Again, unless they went around the block, you know, in the front of the Children's Museum there, right?
Yeah.
There's really no other place for them to go.
Yeah. And knowing the bike shop stuff, it's a lot of UPS and standard delivery trucks, so I'm just trying to figure out what we need to accommodate. Okay.
Well, and one thing we would advise you is item number 6 on tonight's agenda is to change the no stopping or standing in that alley to a no parking, which would allow loading and unloading of vehicles that are completing deliveries.
Motion to create back staff. Refer back to staff. Can I get a motion?
He moved, I'll second.
You move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to 6. Consideration with possible action on the request by traffic engineer and Green Bay Parking Division to change the no stopping or standing restriction in the alley west of Washington Street between Pine and Cherry Streets back to a no parking zone.
Yeah, that was, the creamery kind of initiated that because they parked there for like hours. And so we said, you gotta move, you're obstructing an alley and it's gotta be usable. You can load and unload in an alley, but you should be in attendance of your vehicle. If anybody had an emergency or needed to get to one of their parking spots behind that 200 block, they should have the ability to, and that just didn't work out. So we changed it to no stopping or standing, but that problem kind of went away, the management there. And we want to let people know that no stopping or no standing is the most restrictive you can be, you know, on these 2 streets and in this alley. So it's like, where do I go? It's like, well, if any place, I'd want you in the alley. And so that's why we want to revert it back to, you know, and we'll watch it and ticket it if they're not in attendance of their vehicle and they're obstructing for exceptionally long time, but this is the place for them to go, so.
So, Tom, how does that work, right? I mean, if somebody's unloading their car, they've got to leave their car.
Yeah, they
Right,
gotta leave it, and you don't have to be in attendance of your vehicle. They'll just look at the car, you know, they come back a half hour later and it's still there. Well, now they're obstructing an alley,
Well,
you know, so,
turn your hazards on.
yeah,
Pretty simple
yeah.
thing to do. If you're loading or unloading and you're in a place that's not a recognized parking zone, turn the hazards on to indicate that you're in the process of loading and unloading. And
But we're essentially changing this to no stopping or standing.
no,
We're
other way
changing it.
around, we're taking it from no stopping or standing back to no parking.
You can't
Okay.
park in any alley in the downtown area, you
But to
know.
me, when you say no parking, right, to me that's implying that, like, you're not loading or unloading here either. If I saw no parking sign, I wouldn't assume that I can load and unload there. Unless I don't,
But if you see on no
Majority of it.
stopping or no standing, you can't physically bring your car to a complete stop.
Is there a different,
I did
Go ahead.
not know that until I was on this
So the
commission.
citation rate is quite higher for a no stopping or standing. It's like let's say it's a $40 ticket versus a 25. You know, and if you're not in attendance of your vehicle, you know, they'll give you a lot more leeway in a no parking zone when you're just trying to unload and, you know, and move on.
Yeah, that's where I'm just trying to, at the end of the day, find some solutions here, right? Like I mean, I passed those ordinances, and I won't pretend to know that there was a difference in the law,
Yeah.
right? And so, at the end of the day, I just kind of want to get to, like, what's a reasonable solution that can help maybe alleviate some of the pain points on the folks in this immediate area. And I'm fine with the change, right?
Yep.
Because I agree, right? Like, you
Right.
can't block the alley. I mean,
Right.
um,
Yeah, and we'll look at that study for that 100 block of Pine to see if you say, well, let's do these 3 meters in front of, you know, Mad Chicken as our pickup and drop off, or, you know, sooner or later we could create a zone in front of the new development on Cherry Street, 200 block.
that's what I'm wondering, is the current drop-off zone, is that not being utilized?
It's being utilized.
Okay.
That's where the beer delivery and the Cisco's and the whatever,
Yeah.
they all drop there to go to the 200 block of North Washington. Hagemeister and the other bars, they figured it out to come in a lot earlier. They park on Northland, you know, in the meters before anybody's around the downtown area. But when they do the 200 block of North Washington, they tend to use that Children's Museum pickup and drop off area.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Then it, just in a broader, context, as we start looking at, not necessarily this item, but you had referred back to the drop-off zones. Understand that Newton's laws come into effect here. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Our parking division is an enterprise fund. We are 100% self-funded through revenue generation. We take no levy assistance. And since 2020, we have been on life support. We have exhausted all of our reserves. We have none left. We are barely making by year to year. And what we used to operate at a $3.5 million funding level, I am holding the line at $2.8 million per year to keep that division working. At some point, that's no longer going to happen, and we're gonna have to go back on the levy. So as we're making these decisions, they sound relatively innocuous. However, the loss of 5 meters is a huge revenue generation that we're losing, and that has an impact on how we run that parking division. I'm not saying don't do it, I'm saying be aware of the fact that by making these changes and you take that revenue away, you could adversely impact the parking division's ability to do its job, and at some point, we may wind up having to go back on the levy.
that's precisely why I'm recommending Pine, because it adds stalls instead of having to reassign or take away.
Pine, you can't turn around. That's the short answer. It's dangerous, it's unsafe to do that. That's why we made the changes that we did. You either go down there and you exit south, or you don't go down there. You go in the ramp and you turn around in the ramp, but you can't go down to the end of it and make a turn safely to get back out of there. You're constrained.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, can I get a motion to change the sign from no stopping or standing to no
So it'll
parking?
go forward on a 90-day trial, or does that just?
Does it need that to be a 90 day?
So it'll go forward on a 90-day trial,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. And number 6, and before we move on to informational, I just want to welcome our newest member over here. We have Jesse Wellens. And I really, really want to thank Dan Thino for his years of service and being absolutely amazing. So,
Oh, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Can I say a few things?
Absolutely.
Okay. I've prepared a 45-minute speech.
Ah, okay.
I've been on the commission for 12 years and chairman for 2 years, and it's been an absolute delight. I've met many fine people, both staff and members of the commission. It's been very enjoyable. We do a lot of important things, and and Jesse, you're gonna be a new member coming on board. You look at the agenda and you listen to the staff and you debate the issues in the commission, you think some of these things are mundane. And if you look at the total picture of the city as a whole, putting a stop sign in or no parking is small and mundane. But it's not small and mundane to a neighborhood or to the people that live there. And the communicative effect of all of the little things that we discuss in the commission end up that we have a city that is safe and that traffic flows the way we want it to. So I can only tell you, all of you that are on the commission, that this commission is a very, very important one. And good luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to steal Dan's thunder. but
Go
I
for it.
have one other item. So I am not going to be refreshing my term come April. I actually ended up getting a new position with Brown County. I'll be taking over for Cole Runge as he retires as planning director. So I'll be stepping in to his role, and I want to avoid any conflicts of interest, perceived issues there with the projects that we discuss.
You should
Take
hold off
action.
on that though, because I'm on the county board of supervisors. I might not vote for you.
Well, I turned in my paperwork today, so if it falls
Uh-oh.
through.
Well, thanks
So.
for leaving me vice chair, but otherwise, congratulations.
I apologize.
And we will obviously have to formally refill yours. Who can be? Can you be? Or-
No, he cannot.
I didn't think so. So for the next meeting, we should probably add on to the agenda.
I think I can be here for the next meeting. My term expires April.
Okay, so
So
you'll be
I-
here April, and then
I
we'll
think
have
I
to
can.
vote a replacement
So,
for
yeah.
you then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the replacement will come from the mayor's office.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
it.
no, we're talking
Oh, the
about vice
replacement for the
president.
position,
Or
but he's
vice chair.
also vice chair, so we need to
Oh,
vote a new
oh,
vice
yeah.
chair at the next
I-
meeting
I
then.
see.
And so if you can add that to the agenda, that would be
All right.
excellent, and we'll keep you for one more meeting.
Yeah, I figure a little bit of overlap is okay, but I gotta
Um,
balance.
Any other major news? Okay. With that, our next meeting will be Monday, April 21st, 2025. Can I get a motion for an adjournment?
So moved.
Excellent. I'll second it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Yeah, you too.
Make sure to get home before 7 if you have any time.